Hey, Dan Weintraub here with the first video blog entry for the end of the American middle class, which I think is we're on the slow road to the end of the American middle class. But let's be honest here, the monetary policies of the last 4 years since the collapse of Lehman have totally staved off the kind of contraction we thought we were going to have. They have staved off, those monetary policies have kept collapse from taking place. Anybody who says otherwise, I think, is being intellectually dishonest. But there are all kinds of things happening under the surface and all kinds of ancillary issues and all kinds of issues that are happening in other parts of the world that, of course, are catastrophic and need to be addressed. But what I want to talk about in this particular blog is that we are on the eventual path to the destruction of what used to be a fairly vibrant American middle class, because our monetary policies, the policies of the Federal Reserve and the federal government of creating trillions of dollars in liquidity, of bailing out institutions that make bad bets, of making sure that all of the assets that are marked to a fictional price as opposed to the marketplace as a way to keep the markets artificially inflated. All of these policies are, in the end, only benefiting a very small class of people. You know, we talk about this top 1%. I mean, 1% is sort of a figure pulled out of the sky, but if you look at monetary policy, if you look at the creation of money, the easy access to money, low interest rates, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, there is a very small group of people, getting ever smaller, who are able to capture that money and use it for their own benefit, and those benefits do not in a large way trickle down to what used to be an American middle class that could make ends meet. And at the same time, what these policies precipitate is the rise of costs for anything from food to energy, what have you, and the destruction of a way of life that has become, that people have become used to over the last 50 or so years. And so what you're seeing slowly take place, it's not happening precipitously because of the creation of money has kept it from happening precipitously, but what we're seeing happen slowly is that more and more people are entering are leaving the middle class and becoming part of the working poor. People who cannot, without government assistance, without largesse from rich individuals, make it work. And I think that that's the thing that we need to really look at carefully, that unless we change dramatically how our monetary system works, how monetary policy is created, how we distribute, if you will, money throughout society, who has access, who doesn't, how fractional reserve banking injures the middle class but benefits a very small group of people, what we're going to do is, over the course of the next 10, 20, 30, 50 years, wake up. And my children's children are going to live in a society in which literally, now we talk about there are haves and have-nots, but it's not that black and white. In 50 years, it's going to be that black and white. That there are going to be people who live on the hills surrounded by moats, metaphorically, and then there are going to be other people who live outside the moat who try to figure out a way to make it work. Kind of Omega Man, but clearly not that science fiction-y, not that Charlton Heston-y. So, that's what I want to talk about. I want to, on this website and in this blog, talk about the fact that we have, in the last 3.5 years, I was wrong. I thought that we were going to have economic collapse. We didn't have economic collapse. The reason we didn't have economic collapse is because we can print money. We live in a fiat currency system, and in the short term, that system works to stave off collapse. What we need to address now is, if we don't change the monetary system, if we don't change the supposed free market system that's not a free market system at all, if we don't address the fact that all of the money that's created, virtually all of it that's created, benefits a super wealthy class who are going to be the trillionaires of the future and literally control all of our democratic institutions, as if they don't now, like they do now partially but not completely. At 30, 40 years from now, we're not going to have any democratic institutions. There's not going to be even the facade of having democratic institutions. If we allow the middle class to continue to get destroyed under a monetary regime in which virtually all of the money that's created by the Federal Reserve vis-a-vis the federal government is captured by a teeny percent of individuals and corporations, we are going to wake up in 50 years and there is going to be no middle class. There is going to be a super wealthy class and everybody else. Okay, I'll be back.